Welcome to Whispers, everybody, on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog.
That was Pink Floyd channeling itself. I thought you guys did that to it.
I saw you grin there for a minute.
Wait a minute. What color are you? I have got.
I am red.
A horrendous headache.
Lola needs a hug today, guys. So call in and give Lola some love. No. It is 8:06 p.m. here in downtown Wheeling. About 50 degrees outside. I'm Jordan Klein.
Nick Queen.
And Lola's over there being Lola.
I'm sorry, you guys.
It could be because you're wearing a Michigan hat.
That could be. It's like screwing up my brain waves. That's what it is. I'm channeling Rich Rodriguez. But you'll notice I have on
a Mountaineer sweatshirt with a Michigan hat.
You're just confused. No wonder you've got a headache. You're like swayed both ways.
Polar opposites going on. You're going to create your own black hole.
You are Rich Rodriguez. Now we'll get some callers. Like, what?
All right, give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. That's toll free. Tonight we have moon hoax action going on. This is going to be our first big conspiracy theory, thing. It's a guy from Australia who is pretty much saying that we never have been to the moon and that we made it up, and he says he has proof. So
now this all started because we were doing another show, and the Edgar Mitchell show, and you start looking for Edgar Mitchell stuff.
Yeah, Edgar Mitchell's an astronaut.
Yes, so. Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut. And I think you had a video of him getting punched by somebody or kicked, or he kicked somebody. I mean,
I heard they're really party animals, but...
what happens is a lot of these moon hoax people will go up to them and try to get them to say they never went to the moon. And I know Buzz Aldrin, one of the astronauts... It was
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, one of those punched somebody. And I think Edgar Mitchell might have kicked somebody.
But, I mean, they just got so mad, these old men just, oh, you whippersnapper, and giving it to them.
Whippersnapper.
And I think there's even a video on one of the websites, moonmovie.com, and here it goes, astronauts gone wild. So, I mean,
do they take their clothes off?
No.
I hope not. I haven't got this video, and I don't want to look at that.
Well, I did find pulled one website up. I don't know. I don't know if you guys were listening out in the other room, but it's BRAEUNIG.us/space/hoax. And it takes that, particularly that Fox documentary or whatever it was that Fox did a few years ago on whether it was a hoax or not. And it breaks it down, but Lugnut called in and he said they have highlighted see photo, see photo, see photo. Mm-hmm. And it talks about the pictures and the angles and all this other kind of stuff.
Now, there was two things I watched.
Saying that it was faked, or?
Well, one's trying to argue the other point. Okay. It's,
now, Mythbusters, which they had a moon hoax show where they tried to prove that, whether or not we did go to the moon, was it a myth? And now their conclusion was that we did go to the moon. They took... They went and recreated some of the pictures.
Yeah.
And what they were saying was, sure, okay, we were able to recreate, the landing in this, on this big platform. He said, but that's not the point. What we're trying to prove is what they were trying to say, one of the things they were trying to say, and we'll talk to Jarrah about it, is that, if you have the sun coming from this way, the shadows are wrong. But what they proved was, no, the shadows would work. It would, all of this would work the way they have it. Another thing they were trying to prove was the footprint, the famous footprint left in. The moon hoax people were saying that would never happen. That'd have to be wet sand to do that. And they proved, well, the sand on the moon's different than the sand on a beach. Showed how, the granules would shift a certain way, but this stuff would hold together, with the gravity, all this.
Yeah.
And the waving of the flag, how in a vacuum the flag would wave the way you see in the video, because it's on a which is hard to do on radio, but imagine like a metal pole with one coming out to dangle it like a banner, and then the rest would go in, and the way the gravity, the vacuum is, it would wave a certain way. as opposed to what it would wave in, without a vacuum.
But here's my thought on this, and I haven't chosen a side on this yet. But if you can recreate what's going on, like okay, the MythBusters, they built a set and completely recreated everything that was supposedly built on a set, and then said we must have been on the moon, right? So all they did was completely recreate everything they had to create to be faked.
Yeah.
Right, so
which is once again, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see where they're coming from. One of the things they also tried to recreate was the way they walked, and Adam Savage dresses up in his astronaut costume and tries to imitate the walk, and he couldn't do it. With the gravity the way it is, it's the best way to walk, but he could not do it. He said there was no way on Earth's gravity. It's up for debate. I think I can maybe be swayed. It's going to have to be some heavy evidence.
Well, I keep going back to Wag the Dog, and I don't know if you guys
I've
saw
never seen that.
Okay.
No.
It was back, I don't know, a few years ago. Dustin Hoffman was in the movie, and they made a war. They needed a diversion, so they got on sound stages, and they put together a war. But, of course, they were using green screens and all that kind of stuff. And so, but when you think back to the 60s, sure, it would be easy to fake it now, because you've got so much technology and computer-generated images and all this. Back in the 60s, they didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it puts it in a little bit different light. Could they actually have faked some of this stuff just on a sound stage with the technology they had back then?
And they're saying they went to the desert, I think, and, set up this, probably right near Area 51, of course. But, where else are you going to do it? Yeah, let's get authentic. But now, I would believe more, and I was listening to you guys talk about it earlier. Maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was George Kellis, about, he said that he believed JFK conspiracy. He believed that it was just Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I would believe that, I don't believe that it was necessarily him. That's something that I would put a lot more.
It was a second gunman.
I think there has to have been one. But this, it's going to take a lot more. I can understand, I can see where you'd have to have more than one gunman. The bullet just doesn't move that way. It's, so, exactly. And Lola has taken her finger into the air and did circles for the radio listening audience that doesn't see us on video.
I'll do it in the camera.
Yeah. So all they see is your finger up like this because it's a 10-second delay. So you have to make it 10 seconds. So.
Watch for a while, guys.
So,
I don't know. Do you think you can be swayed, Lola?
I am walking into this with a truly open mind. Did I believe it when it happened? Yes. Now, my grandmother, no. But she was 80. She wasn't about to believe anything like that. But there are an awful lot of people that are older that really don't believe it happened.
Really?
I can understand also that we were in a Cold War, that we were one-upped by the Russians by getting, they got Sputnik up, and we had all these different problems, and then all of a sudden we get to the moon, So I don't want to take anything away from the astronaut if they did, but at the same time, do I trust the government? Sometimes it's kind of hard.
Well, that's what Todd and I were talking about too, and I said, why all of a sudden, in the last 60 years, almost 70 years, all these conspiracy theories are out there. Every single major event that has happened in this country and in the world has had some conspiracy theory surrounding it. And I think it's because we have a real distrust of our government. We don't trust them with the information. We don't trust them with the knowledge.
Well, it started with the JFK assassination.
But somebody
it's hard to swallow some of that stuff. And then you have Lyndon Johnson with the Gulf of Tonkin incident. That was all fake. And
somebody called and actually said that he thought it started with the JFK because that was true first real. Oh, what was the word he used? I can't think.
Televised or
no. Controversy that hit this country was that election rigged or not?
With the Texas votes and Lyndon
Chicago.
Johnson. Chicago.
The Chicago
I've read something about
votes.
Texas also maybe being a little bit of
you had
problem there too. So Chicago people dead people were voting. So, we should talk about that one day.
Gee, didn't that just happen? Oh, oops. Was I supposed to not say that?
Well, that's the end of the trail. I mean, you go all the way up to 9/11. Some people say, there's...
That they were drones, and
yeah, I mean,
we blew up our own trade centers.
And I just signed or booked somebody to come and talk about, covering up UFOs. He's a Navy, been in the Navy forever, and he says, that the government's covering that up. And, you can't believe a lot of stuff, and it's all out there, and it'll keep us on the air. So
that's a good way of looking at it.
There we go,
All right, can we take a quick break and let's get Jarrad White on the phone? We got a calling card on this one. He's coming from all the way from Australia, and we got to make sure we can get a hold of him.
So if you have any questions, though, call 214-1600 or 866-514-1600, wherever you are in the United States. Maybe even Canada, Britain, Australia.
Do you want to dive into the bizarre world of the paranormal? Do ghosts, UFOs, or the supernatural amaze you to the point of wanting to learn more? Then you need BVRN, the Black Vault Radio Network. With more than 750 hours of on-demand talk radio, syndicated for more than 35 shows, the Black Vault Radio Network is your one-stop shop for the world of the unexplained. Check us out and tune in 24 hours a day. www.blackvaultradio.com. Again, that's www.blackvaultradio.com.
Over recent years, the traditional office has become more of a touchpad than a daily destination. Long gone is the reliance on a landline to work away from the office. More people are performing work from home or other locations thanks to technologies like GoToMyPC that let you take your office wherever you go. With GoToMyPC, you have freedom from the office, enhanced work-life balance, and increased work flexibility. When choosing a remote access service, you need to make sure it's easy to set up, easy to use, and affordable. That's why you need GoToMyPC. And you can try it free for 30 days. For this special offer, go to mypc.com/techpodcasts. That's go to mypc.com/techpodcasts. Take your office with you wherever you go with GoToMyPC.
Welcome back to Whispers, everybody, on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. It is now 8:21 p.m. here in downtown Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm here with Nick Queen, Lola Miller, and we have a guest on the line, Mr. Jarrad White. Jarrah is a native of Australia who debunks the Apollo hoax debunkers, both in forums and throughout film. He is also a contributing editor of moonhoax.us. You there, Jarrad?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, nice to talk with you. Now, my big question here is, what's the biggest evidence you have that says we never went to the moon?
Radiation in space.
Radiation in space.
Now, I know nothing about all this, so, you got to detail me
up. Talk to
up.
us like we're elementary school children.
It's not that far off.
Okay. Well, basically, around the Earth, we've got what's called the Van Allen radiation belts. See, the Earth has this magnetic field, right, and these belts are formed by trapped charged particles. Trapped charged particles, they're the radiation, you see. They come from the sun, they come from elsewhere in the universe, and they get trapped in these, between the lines of magnetic force. They're held there in space. Mm-hmm. And basically, in the 1950s, James Van Allen, he's the guy who's now named after these belts, he was launching raccoons into space. A raccoon is a rocket that's attached to a weather balloon. The weather balloon travels up into the atmosphere, then the rocket fires the rest of the way up. Anyways, he had a Geiger counter in the machine, which is what we use to measure the particles that are in space. Anyways, they'd send these Geiger counters into space, and they'd start to pick up very high levels of radiation. Later on, he would put these Geiger counters into satellites, like the Explorer 1. And that once they'd reach about 1,000 kilometers, they'd start to pick up really high. They'd start to count high. Then suddenly they'd just clonk back down to zero, because there was so much radiation that these Geiger counters could not cope with them, and so they just became jammed and they just shut up.
Huh.
So you're saying that humans would not be able to survive in this kind of conditions, correct?
That's correct. Now, to measure how much radiation a human is picking up, we use what's called REM. Now, to kill a human, you need about 500 REM, you see? And now, when you're going to the moon, allegedly, when you're going on your way to the moon, you have to travel through the radiation belts once and back again. That's now a trip each way.